You know, when I first realized I was trans, there was definitely some grief because at that moment I realized that, oh yeah, this ain't gonna be easy. It's not gonna be easy for a while at least. And I realized that my life was gonna be a lot harder than a lot of my peers. And, you know, it definitely was. I spent a majority my teenage and tween years in a lot of pain. And, you know, I definitely had to fight for my existence at first. And I did it. I fought to have a good support system. I fought for people to respect me. I did all the things. And they were really hard. But I definitely think it was worth it. Because I've turned out to be such a amazingly strong person. And an amazingly empathetic person. Because I've been through a lot. And I know how it feels to have your entire identity be a subject of political debate. And I've definitely come out better on the other side. Today we're going to talk about that journey and how it affected me and how it affected my peers and how it affected my brothers and sisters in my community. Because it's an experience we all go through. We're going to talk about those hardships, what we have to go through, and how amazingly important it is to be able to not have to fight like I did for that support system. Because, you know, we're kids too. We're not just a political trophy or a political boogeyman, if you would call it that. We're real people with real lives. And, yeah. I was about 14 or 15 when I came out. I know the memory so well because it was right after my birthday freshman year. I got a haircut. But because before I came out, my hair was down to like my lower back. I went really hard on the comp head. And there was a definite difference between me before I came out and me after. And especially how people treated me. Because before I came out, sure, I wasn't that popular. I was a little bit of a weird kid. But at least I wasn't the weird kid. At least I wasn't the freak. And that's kind of what I became after I came out. I became this sort of example of what not to look like, what not to act like. Because if you know the town behind me and the high school behind me, San Clemente High, you know that the people who go there aren't the most accepting or even the most open-minded people. And that was really hard for me. Early transition in that environment was really hard. I personally was made to feel like an alien. like I didn't even belong anywhere. That was really hard for a 14, 15-year-old. And I started feeling like that was how it would always be. And I understand that all teenagers go through that everyone at one point feels lost, like an outcast, like they don't belong. That's what makes high school so hard, is that you don't know who you are and you're figuring that out. But it was different being trans. Being trans kind of brings it to a new level, because on top of not knowing who you are as a person yet, the parts that you do know, you're constantly being berated for, constantly being told that that's wrong, that's a sin, that's against God. And even if you don't believe in those things, that still hurts. Being told that the part of you that you do know is an abomination hurts. I remember walking down these halls specifically and getting called a fag, getting called a tranny at the end. Just because people didn't really understand. Just because people didn't understand what I was going through. They didn't want to understand who I was. And it was really the culture that made them act like that. And I remember being called a fag and going to the office like any bullied kids knows how to do, and they did nothing. Absolutely nothing. I was told that, oh yeah, we'll figure it out. It won't happen again. All they did was tell the boys that were doing it, don't do it. Don't do it. You're not gonna get in trouble, but don't do it. And I don't know if you know teenage boys. Being one, if there's no consequence, you're gonna keep doing it. And it's no wonder trans suicide rates are the way they are. According to the Trevor Project, 50.8% of trans adolescent boys have attempted suicide. 50.8%. More than half. And I gotta say, I'm part of that statistic. Because of that environment, I wanted to kill myself. I'm dead serious. It was incredibly hard because I had no one supporting me. And, I just wanted acceptance. I just wanted to be liked, just like any other kid. But I felt so trapped. I felt so alone. I felt like this was how it's going to be forever. And that I was never going to be happy. Truly, I felt like that. And it wasn't just me. I had several friends sent off to psych wards because we didn't feel like we belonged. And it took me a long time to realize that it was not. Most of it was the culture change. just moving away from St. Clemente. And that's what really helped me get off my feet, moving away from it. And then I came to Northwood, and I gotta say, it really, really helped me and my mental health. On the first day, I had like 4 or 5 kids come up to me and ask me my pronouns. That was something that was unheard of at my old school. And the culture at Northwood let me express myself in a way I never thought truly possible at St. Clemente. I was able to fully be myself. That did wonders for me. It really did. And the support that I got at school and the administration that we have really put me to a place where I could succeed. And I did. I've accomplished a lot emotionally and academically the last couple of years, something that I didn't think was really possible. Now is a good time to talk about people who don't necessarily agree with me. People who think that trans kids shouldn't have the support we have. People like Abigail Shrier. Abigail Shrier is a journalist for the Wall Street Journal. She writes mostly opinion pieces, and last year she published her debut book, Irreversible Damage. This book is about what she calls the transgender craze killing our daughters. In this book, she argues that most trans kids that come out right now aren't actually trans, that they are following the latest trend, just like anorexia and bulimia would be 10 years ago. I want to say that her rhetoric comes from a place of concern, out of concern for people, especially what she sees as young girls, making the wrong choice and doing something irreversible. And yeah, testosterone and other supports like that are irreversible. However, that's not the only supports. Like I've talked about, just having the culture support you makes a brilliant difference in a trans kid's mental health. And her concern that these kids aren't actually trans is completely false. From statistics we have of regret rates in transgender surgeries and medical procedures, such as hormone replacement therapy and testosterone, is actually significantly lower than other cosmetic procedures such as breast augmentation and rhinoplasty. These surgeries save lives. And while there are concerns that, and while it is valid to have concerns about young people deciding to do irreversible things with their bodies, it's a decision that they have to make. And for these surgeries, they are life-saving. And some trans kids can't make it out of childhood without them. So what did we learn today? We learned that trans kids go through exuberant hardships that most teenagers might experience but don't experience to the same degree. We showed that trans kids have a higher rate of suicide, and we rebutted the argument that we shouldn't support trans kids over concerns about the validity of their identity. Now, I've thrown some pretty heavy stuff at you today, and you might be wondering, what can you do to help? Well, there's a lot of things you can do. Research has shown that when trans kids are supported by their communities, that giant rate of suicide goes down significantly. So be an ally. Speak up when people are misgendered, and just treat us like regular human beings. Trust me, it makes all the difference. And hopefully with your help, we can save tons of lives and make figuring out who you are a little bit less hard. Thank you so much for your time.